Daddy! The small voice rang out, bright as a bell through the marble and glass lobby of the Sterling Crown Hotel in downtown Chicago, slicing clean through clinking silverware. Every fork paused halfway to waiting mouths. Conversation stalled mid-sentence. Heads turned almost in unison toward the staircase, where a little black girl, about 6, dashed forward. Her curls bounced wildly, her sneakers squeaked on polished stone, and her grin beamed, wide open, free. At a nearby table, Lucas Hart's pen froze above a contract. He wore his usual charcoal suit, posture straight, signature halfway formed on a multi-million-dollar deal. But that one word hit harder than any market crash. Daddy! Again! Louder! Certain! She barreled right into him, hugging his leg with both arms and tilting her face up, eyes sparkling. "Hi, Daddy," she chirped, as the whole lobby quietly held its breath. Lucas stared down, stunned. Something in him flickered. Her chin, the curve of her eyes, the slight dimple when she smiled. It was like staring at a softened, younger echo of himself. As Lucas stood there, rooted among the quiet luxury of the hotel he owned, a hard truth slipped in. Sometimes the past doesn't knock, it walks up, smiles, and calls you Daddy. Someone in the crowd coughed nervously. Whispered speculation rippled across linen-draped tables, but Lucas couldn't look away from the girl clinging to him like she'd found something precious she'd lost. "Maya, sweetheart, what are you doing?" A woman's voice cut through the hush. Elena Morales, in a neatly pressed housekeeping uniform, hurried forward. Face pale, eyes wide with rising panic. She scooped the little girl into her arms, clutching her close. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Hart," she blurted. "She probably saw your picture in a magazine. Kids make wild connections sometimes." Lucas blinked, voice quiet. "Her name is Maya?" He tasted the word. Elena nodded, not quite meeting his eyes. "Yes, she's 6. From behind him, his longtime aide, Nate, stepped closer. "Sir?" Nate murmured, low enough for only Lucas to hear. "Do you remember Denver? The charity gala 6 years ago? You drank more than usual, blacked out in the hallway." He leaned in further. "She's the one who helped you to your suite." A shadow passed behind Lucas's eyes. For years, he'd quietly tried to learn who had helped him that night. No one ever confirmed a thing. All he'd found the next morning was a delicate gold necklace on the pillow beside him, a handmade pendant in cursive, just the letter L. He'd kept it anyway, locked in his nightstand like a question he wasn't ready to ask. Elena shifted Maya higher on her hip, backing away. "We'll go. I don't want trouble." Maya peeked over her mother's shoulder, giggling softly, eyes bright with curiosity and trust. Lucas saw more than resemblance. He saw memory, possibility, and a connection that had no business existing. "Don't leave," he said quietly. "Take her to your room. I need to talk with both of you later." Elena hesitated, then nodded, disappearing down the staff corridor with Maya. Lucas stayed watching the hallway long after they vanished. Nate moved to his side. "You okay?" he asked. Lucas turned toward the rain-streaked floor-to-ceiling windows, Chicago mist blurring the skyline. "That necklace," he murmured, more to himself. "That night." In his chest, something churned. A storm of questions, regret, and something even more dangerous. A small, stubborn seed of hope. The elevator doors slid shut behind him with a soft chime. In his penthouse, dusk light spilled through tall windows, painting everything amber. Lucas loosened his tie, dropped phone and wallet. He poured himself a straight whiskey, no ice, letting the burn ground him. But his thoughts were miles away, back in a different hotel room, another city, 6 years and one blackout ago. He crossed to his bedside table, opened the drawer, and pulled out a worn velvet pouch. Inside, untouched for years, lay the same gold necklace, the delicate cursive L catching the light. It looked handmade, personal, not something you'd find in a jewelry display. He held it in his palm, chain pooled like sunlight. It smelled faintly of lavender and something warm, like comfort. He remembered waking up alone, head pounding, in a bed neatly made around him, a blanket tucked gently at his shoulders. Someone had cared quietly, then slipped away without leaving a name. And now a lively little girl had crashed straight through the walls of his controlled existence, ripping open that sealed memory. Lucas pressed the intercom. "Nate, come up." His voice sounded strained. 3 minutes later, Nate walked in, tablet under his arm. Lucas didn't turn. "I need everything on Elena Morales," he said. "Employment, background, family, whatever you can get legally, quietly." Nate raised one eyebrow but didn't argue. "Discreet," Lucas added. When Nate left, Lucas returned to the window, necklace pressed into his palm. For a man obsessed with control, this was chaos. Yet, disturbingly, he didn't want it to vanish. On the 6th floor, in the modest staff quarters, Elena sat on the edge of her narrow bed, hands trembling, while Maya snored softly nearby. The little girl clutched her stuffed giraffe, curls messy against the pillowcase, breathing deep and carefree. Elena stared at an old photo by the lamp. Creased edges, her 32-year-old self smiling bravely. Snowflakes blurred behind her, a holiday display glowing. She'd taken it the morning after Denver, when she tucked an unconscious man into bed and slipped away before sunrise, heart aching but hopeful. She'd never intended to keep the necklace, but when she discovered she was pregnant, it became her secret talisman, a promise to herself and to the tiny life growing inside her. She'd assumed he'd never remember, that their paths would never cross, until today. Elena rubbed at her tired eyes and whispered, "This was never supposed to happen like this." The next morning, Maya skipped down the hallway outside their room, clutching a sketch pad and humming. She had no idea she'd cracked open something enormous inside a man she barely knew. From the shadow of the staff passage, Lucas watched her move. Light-footed, exuberant, with a bounce in her step that felt painfully familiar, like a ghost of the boy he once was. She plopped into a chair at a small table by the lobby window and began to draw. Lucas approached slowly. "Hey there," he said. Maya glanced up, unsurprised. "Hi, Daddy." He crouched down. "You know, I'm probably not your dad," he said gently. She tilted her head, unconvinced. "Mom says people say silly things when they're scared," she replied, as if obvious. He couldn't help a short laugh. "Your mom's smart." Maya held up her drawing. A tall man in a suit beside a little girl holding a balloon. Above them, she'd written, "My dad." "That's really good," Lucas said quietly. "I draw from real life," she announced proudly. Elena rushed in seconds later, breathless. "Maya, I told you not to run off." Her gaze met Lucas's. "It's okay," he said calmly. "We were just talking." Elena's eyes dropped to the drawing in Maya's hands and tightened. She braced for judgment. Instead, Lucas reached into his jacket pocket. "I still have this," he said softly, showing her the necklace. Elena's hand flew to her chest, where the chain used to rest. She hadn't seen that piece of herself in years. "I found it on my pillow the morning after Denver," Lucas explained. "Never knew who left it until now." Elena swallowed. "Why didn't you say anything then?" He sighed. "I didn't know who to tell." "I didn't even know your name." She nodded slowly. "I never wanted anything from you," she said. "I swear that." "I believe you," he answered. Maya tugged her sleeve. "Are you mad at him?" Elena knelt to Maya's height. "No, baby, I'm just surprised." Lucas looked between them. The woman who had carried the truth alone, and the child who had shouted it for everyone to hear. "Have breakfast with me?" he asked gently. "Just us three. No cameras, no executives, just pancakes." Elena hesitated, then nodded. Something inside Lucas shifted. Less strategy, more something he hadn't named yet. The private breakfast room on the 12th floor was quiet, set apart from the main dining chaos. A small table near the windows overlooked the lake, sunlight glinting off the water. Lucas arrived first, wearing a navy sweater and jeans instead of his usual armor. He stood by the window rehearsing apologies and questions, unsure how any of this was supposed to go. The door opened. Elena stepped in, holding Maya's hand. "Good morning," Lucas said. Elena offered a cautious reply. "Hi, Daddy," Maya squealed, hugging him quickly before racing to the crayons. He found himself smiling despite the knot in his throat. They sat. Maya started coloring on her placemat, while Elena stirred coffee without drinking, shoulders tense like she'd forgotten how to relax. "Thank you for coming," Lucas said. "I wasn't sure you would." Elena exhaled. "I wasn't sure either, but she deserves at least one breakfast like this." Maya beamed. "Best day ever." Lucas watched her balance pancake pieces on her fork like tiny swords. Then he looked at Elena. "I need to ask," he said quietly. "That night in Denver, you just left." "I didn't want to complicate your life," she replied. "You were drunk. I helped you lie down. That's it. No expectations. Then I found out I was pregnant." "I wrote a letter once," Elena continued. "Never mailed it. Saw you on a business magazine cover and thought, why would you believe me? It would sound like a trap." Lucas nodded slowly. "You're right. Back then, I probably wouldn't have believed you." He looked at Maya, who now tried to make syrup rivers. "But now, things feel different." Elena folded her hands. "So, what do you want, Lucas? Legally, financially, emotionally?" He hesitated. "I don't want to take her away. I want time with her, if you'll let me earn it." "She's not a publicity angle," Elena warned softly. "She's a person." "I know," he said. "She's your daughter, maybe mine, and I need to deserve saying that out loud." After breakfast, Maya begged to show him her drawings. They wandered toward the terrace, Elena trailing behind. "This is a fairy castle," Maya announced. "This is me and Mom at the park." She turned another page. A tall figure in a suit holding a small hand. "This is you and me from yesterday," she said. Lucas swallowed. The drawn expression mirrored his morning reflection. "Can I ask you something?" he said softly. "Why did you call me Daddy?" Maya shrugged. "You look like me. Mom said my dad is kind and helps people, and you looked lonely." "Lonely?" he repeated. "Yeah," she said. "Your eyes were looking for someone." Her simple certainty rattled him more than any shareholder meeting. Upstairs, Elena sat on the couch, bracing for what came next. "There's something else," Lucas said when he rejoined her. "I want a paternity test." Elena stiffened, then nodded. "That's fair," she replied. "No lawyers yet, no cameras, just us and the truth." A knock sounded. Nate stepped in with a folder. "You asked for her file," he said, glancing at Elena. Lucas motioned for him to leave it. After Nate exited, he handed it over. "I want you to see what people in my world can dig up," Lucas said. Inside lay her employment records and a scanned parking ticket from Denver, dated the very night their paths crossed. "You tracked this?" she asked. "I needed to know it wasn't just intuition," he replied. "I'm thorough, sometimes too thorough." Elena's expression softened slightly. "You've got a lot to learn about parenting." "I know," he admitted. "Luckily, I've got the best instructor over there coloring a blue giraffe." Elena chuckled. "She thinks giraffes should be lavender." Lucas glanced over. "Honestly, I can see her point." That night, as Elena tucked Maya in, the girl whispered, "Is he really my daddy?" Elena paused. "We'll find out soon," she answered. "But he definitely cares about you. That matters." Maya nodded, satisfied, and drifted off. Across the hotel, Lucas sat alone, turning the necklace over in his fingers as rain tapped against glass. The storm inside him shifted, less confusion, more purpose. Morning crept over Chicago, gilding steel and glass with pale gold. On the 13th floor, in Lucas's private office, a sealed envelope lay on his desk, heavier than its thin paper should allow. Paternity results. The ticking antique clock and faint city buzz were the only sounds. He stared a beat longer, then tore it open. Bold, clinical letters confirmed it. 99.9% probability. He exhaled a breath he didn't realize he'd held. Relief, regret, and a fierce new protectiveness collided inside him. 5 years of missed firsts pressed down like an invisible weight. Still, somehow, that child had seen something in him anyway. He picked up his phone. "Elena," he said when she answered, voice steady. "Can you come up? Bring Maya." When they arrived, Elena already seemed braced. Lucas met them with a measured expression. "It's confirmed," he said. "Maya's my daughter." Elena absorbed it with a slow nod, the words hitting harder than expected. They sat together on the couch. Maya climbed beside Lucas and handed him a new drawing. 3 figures holding hands beneath the words, "My home," scribbled in purple crayon. "I'm not trying to blow up your life," Lucas told Elena quietly. "I just want to be involved however you're comfortable. No sudden grabs, no courts, just time, step by step." "Time is earned," Elena replied, "not handed over." "I know," he said. They talked about simple things. School hours, Maya's hatred of eggs, her fascination with giraffes. Each detail a small bridge built between them. But peace rarely came alone. On the corporate wing downstairs, rumors began to simmer. An assistant had noticed Maya riding the private elevator. A concierge mentioned a little girl hugging Lucas at breakfast. Logan Pierce, head of public affairs, stormed into Nate's office. "Is Hart hiding an illegitimate child with a housekeeper?" he demanded. Nate looked up calmly. "That's an absurd leap, even for you." "Absurd or potentially explosive," Logan shot back. "If this leaks before we control the story, the media storm could swallow us." Nate folded his hands. "You're assuming there's something to control at all." Logan's smile was thin. "My job is anticipating risk, and this screams risk." Nate stood. "Let me be clear. If you start spreading speculation before Lucas decides what to share, you'll be gone instantly." "So it's true," Logan muttered. Nate said nothing, but sometimes silence spoke loudly enough. That evening, Elena found an unmarked envelope shoved under her door. Inside, a typed message chilled her blood. "Eyes are watching. Keep your distance if you know what's good for you." She reread it, pulse pounding, while Maya hummed nearby, folding paper into a crooked cardboard crown. Elena crumpled the note, then later slipped to a spot near the laundry chute where reception dropped. She called Lucas. "We need to talk." she whispered. "Somebody knows, and they're not friendly." "I'll come to you," he replied. They met in the hotel garden under the lamplight's warm halo. The moon hung low above the skyline, silver and watchful as Elena handed him the note. His jaw tightened as he read. "I won't let anyone threaten you," he said. "This is your world, Lucas," she answered quietly. "People like me don't survive it without scars." He really looked at her then, not just as the woman who raised his daughter, but as someone who had carried love and fear alone, without asking anything from him in return. "Then let me share the weight now," he said. "You and Maya don't have to carry this by yourselves anymore." She hesitated, then nodded once. Small, but enough. Above them, moonlight turned the garden stone pale, a silent witness. Below, the city continued moving, unaware that a long-hidden truth had shifted something fundamental inside a man and his makeshift family. The next morning, Lucas stood on the rooftop terrace, coffee warming his hand, note folded in his pocket like a stone. The skyline glimmered, but control no longer felt guaranteed. Nate stepped into the chilly air with a folder. "Security ran a trace," he said. "Typed on a basic inkjet. No prints. Cameras missed the drop. Whoever it was knows our blind spots." "Someone inside," Lucas said. "Likely," Nate agreed. "PR hasn't leaked anything yet, but they're circling." Lucas's gaze hardened. "Call an executive meeting. I'm telling them myself, on my terms." "Once it's out, there's no rewinding," Nate cautioned. "I'm done hiding her," Lucas answered. "She called me daddy in front of a whole lobby. For once, I didn't care who saw." Across town, Elena sat on a bench near Maya's kindergarten playground, nursing cheap coffee. Children shrieked with laughter on the blacktop. Maya, in a lavender jacket, chased two friends, voice bright. "Is she yours?" asked a well-dressed woman beside Elena. "Yes," Elena replied. "She's adorable, but she doesn't look much like you," the woman observed. Elena's shoulders stiffened. "That's because she looks like her father." The woman's eyes sharpened. "Is he involved?" Elena rose, forcing a small smile. "He is now," she said, ending the conversation before it turned into something sharp and curious. Back at the Sterling Crown, the executive conference room filled with department heads, attorneys, and PR leads. Lucas stood at the head of the table, not as a CEO first, but as a man. 5 years ago, at a company event, I had a personal encounter with a staff member, he began. No coercion, no scandal, just a mistake that led somewhere unexpected. Her name is Elena Morales. She works here. She raised a daughter alone. He took a breath. "That daughter, Lila, is mine." Logan shifted, face carefully blank. "Does this damage our image?" "Only if we mishandle it," Lucas replied. HR Director Susan spoke up. "Elena's been exemplary, quiet, dedicated." "She stayed silent to protect her child," Lucas said. "And honestly, to protect me too." Nate added, "Mr. Hart will be taking a more active role in Lila's life. Privately, there's no legal dispute or financial fight. This is a family matter, not a corporate scandal. Do we issue a statement?" Logan pressed. "No," Lucas said. "We live honestly. Let tabloids chase rumors. We don't need to write their script." That night, Elena found another envelope at her door. Handwritten this time, cursive curling in black ink. "He may protect you now, but loyalty fades and accidents happen. Don't forget your place in his empire." Her stomach dropped. This was no longer idle gossip. It was a threat. She carried the note straight to Lucas. He read it twice, then folded it with deliberate calm. "You're moving upstairs," he said. "I can't just vanish," Elena protested. Lila has school. We'll arrange private tutoring temporarily, he insisted, until we find whoever's behind this. I refuse to raise her in hiding, she said. Then let me fix what I can, Lucas answered. Let me protect her. For a moment, Elena saw not the billionaire, but a man desperate not to waste another chance. All right, she said quietly, but promise me, no more secrets? His voice softened. No more. Later, after Lila fell asleep in their temporary top-floor suite, Lucas and Elena stood on the balcony. City lights stretched beneath them like glowing veins. She thinks you hung the moon, Elena said. Lucas watched Lila's sleeping shape through the window. Feels more like she's lighting up my whole sky. Elena laughed softly, then grew serious. You're not scared? Terrified, he admitted. But for once, being scared feels like proof that this actually matters. She leaned on the railing, mind racing. What if this falls apart? She asked. What if the world tears this to pieces? Then we build something stronger, Lucas replied. Something they don't know how to shake loose. Do you remember anything else from Denver? She asked. He closed his eyes. A hand on my shoulder. A blanket, lavender. Someone choosing kindness when they didn't have to. That was me, Elena said, almost a whisper. I know that now, he answered. Far below, the skyline stood steady, quietly framing the fragile beginnings of a family that wasn't perfect, but was chosen. The next morning, drizzle smeared the hotel windows in shining streaks. Inside the upper executive floor, tension hung thick. Logan met with 2 external crisis consultants in a sleek, muted conference room. He's making this personal, Logan complained, pacing. Hart thinks he can ride this out on a heartwarming family arc. One consultant adjusted his glasses. So far, no leak has truly blown up. But speculation grows, Logan said, and speculative narratives give that woman leverage. The second man frowned. You're not suggesting... I'm suggesting contingency, Logan cut in. If this spirals, the board needs alternatives. Shareholders care about stability, not sentimentality. Across town, Elena and Lila sat in a cozy, book-lined office. Dr. Harper Lane, a family therapist, regarded them kindly over a steaming mug of lemon tea. Lila, Dr. Lane asked gently, how do you feel when you're with Lucas? Lila swung her legs, grinning. I like when he reads giraffe stories. He does silly voices. Do you feel safe around him? The therapist asked. Lila nodded. He listens, like really listens, she said. Elena's heart twisted. Later, while Lila colored in the corner, Dr. Lane spoke softly. She's adjusting well to his presence, the therapist said. But kids sense tension. Even without details, she feels you watching doors, checking shadows. Elena sighed. I don't know how to make normal anymore. Normal isn't perfect, Dr. Lane replied. It's showing up. She knows you're there. Now she's learning he is too. That evening, Lucas hosted them in the rooftop greenhouse, a rarely used event space. Lanterns glowed among ivy-wrapped beams. The air smelled of fresh herbs and damp earth. Lila scampered between planters, pretending to be an explorer hunting invisible jungle creatures. Lucas watched, laughing quietly. This is beautiful, Elena admitted, surprised, unexpected. She deserves magic, Lucas said. So do you. Elena's smile was cautious. You know this calm won't last. Someone will talk, the press will feast. I've survived worse, he answered. What matters is what I choose now. She studied him. And what exactly is that? He met her gaze. To make this real, protect it, and learn to be a father. Maybe more someday, he added. Before she could respond, Nate appeared in the doorway, face tight. "Sorry to interrupt," he said. "We've got a problem." Lucas stepped aside with him. "A small blog posted an unconfirmed story," Nate said. "Hotel tycoon's secret daughter in staff quarters. It's circulating. Not viral yet, but it will be." Lucas cursed softly. "Prepare a statement and bring Logan tomorrow." If Logan was involved, Lucas wanted to know. Later, Elena stood at the suite window, city lights blinking below. Lucas draped a blanket over her shoulders. "I'm sorry," he said. "You trusted me." "It's not your fault people can't mind their own lives," she replied. "But I don't want her growing up thinking she was a mistake." Lucas's voice was firm. "She's not. She's a miracle." That afternoon, Lucas brought in media strategist Claudia Del Rey. She was sharp, composed, with the calm of someone used to cleaning up other people's messes. "You're not spinning this," he told her. "You're helping me tell the truth. No denial, no reframing." Claudia tilted her head. "Are you prepared for the fallout?" "More than I've ever been," he said. Together, they drafted his statement. That evening, he filmed a simple video. No grand backdrop, just a chair, a soft light, and Lucas speaking directly to the camera. "My name is Lucas Hart," he began. "I've spent my life building a company, an image, but today I want to talk about something more important, family." He spoke of Elena, Denver, the years he didn't know about Lila. "This isn't a scandal," he said. "It's a second chance, and I won't hide it." The video went live on the hotel site and his social accounts. Within hours, views skyrocketed. Elena watched it in bed, laptop glowing beside sleeping Lila. She replayed his trembling honesty, the way he said their names like they mattered more than stock prices. "He did it," she whispered. The next morning, reactions were mixed but not vicious. Headlines shifted toward grudging respect. Commenters wrote, "That kid's lucky," and "This feels unusually honest for a billionaire." Even Logan had to admit momentum changed. But in the shadows of the company, someone else watched. A former partner, long removed from Lucas's circle, folded a printed transcript of the video. "Now I know exactly where to press," he murmured. Near midnight, Nate's office phone rang from a blocked number. A distorted voice said, "Check internal server C Delta." An hour after Hart's video, something was downloaded and scrubbed. Then the line went dead. Nate jolted into action, alerting tech security and combing through logs himself. Meanwhile, Lucas stood by his penthouse windows again, city glittering below. Elena curled on the couch behind him, watching shadows move. "I expected worse," she admitted. "From the public, I mean." "So did I," he replied. "They still might turn. But at least they're reacting to the truth now, not some twisted rumor." Elena unfolded yet another note that had arrived earlier, left at the concierge desk. "The fall begins when the crown slips. You're no queen, just another pawn in his empire. We remember." She didn't need to ask who we were. This felt bigger than gossip, older than their story. "I got another message," she said, handing it over. Lucas read, jaw tightening. "This isn't about you anymore," he said. "It never really was." "Then who is it about?" she asked. After a long pause, he answered, "Someone from when all this started. Someone I left behind." Next morning, Nate stood in the chilled server room, surrounded by humming machines. The file scrubbed was labeled Denver 17, a tech reported. Archived security footage from the gala that year. Somehow, it reappeared recently. "Who restored it?" Nate asked. "No clue, but someone accessed it using mirrored credentials. They were in for less than 4 minutes. We're checking what else they touched. Nate scribbled notes, already dialing Lucas. Meanwhile, in the main kitchen, Lila stood on a stool, flour on her cheeks as she pressed cookie cutters into dough with the pastry chef. Elena watched from the doorway. Exhaustion and gratitude mixed. Lucas entered carrying takeout bags. "Thought we'd try that new Clark Street place," he said, then noticed Elena's stiff posture. She pointed out the window. A man in a blue cap loitered across the street. "He's been out there an hour, just watching," she murmured. Lucas's face hardened. "I'll have Nate pull footage," he said softly. "We'll figure out who he is." Elena's hand gripped his arm. "You said your old partner was dangerous," she reminded him. "Once he was my friend," Lucas replied. "That's the part that worries me." Later, he dressed for a long-planned fundraising gala downstairs. The theme was legacy and leadership, a bitter joke now. On stage, he addressed donors. "Some of you know me as a builder," he said. "Lately, I'm learning to build something harder. A family." Applause swelled. From the back of the ballroom, Elena watched with Lila in her arms, seeing a man remaking himself in real time. Across town, a figure in a bar stared at the screen. Back in the boardroom, Nate handed Lucas a manila folder. "We recovered old files," he said. "They prove your former partner cut corners, not you. But someone tried breaching Lila's school records yesterday, a warning shot." Lucas clenched his fists, knuckles whitening. "He's using Lila to squeeze me," he muttered. "Yeah," Nate said quietly. "And he's getting bolder every single day." That afternoon, Elena was in the suite with Lila when the front desk rang. A professional female voice said a package had arrived for the Hart family. Suspicious, Elena asked Nate to pick it up first. What came wasn't a box, but a sleek black envelope, unmarked, sealed with dark red wax like some relic. Inside was a single photograph. A young woman who looked exactly like Elena, standing beside a 10-year-old Lucas at a dusty construction site decades earlier. Something that should have been impossible. She stared, confused, then flipped it over. On the back, jagged handwriting read, "You think you know him. He's lied before." Nate examined it closely, brow furrowed. "That's not you," he said. "Face is similar, but not quite, maybe a relative." He frowned deeper. "Why send this now?" Elena's fingers shook slightly. "They want me doubting him," she murmured. "They want distance between us." Nate nodded once. "Classic move. Divide, isolate, then hit harder." Lucas arrived minutes later, jaw set. He looked at the photo, then at Elena. "That's not you," he said slowly. "That's Elena Morales. She used to work summers on site. She was your cousin, right?" Elena's expression changed as memory rushed back. "Karina," she whispered. "She died in a car accident years ago. We lost touch when she moved." Nate scribbled a quick note. "So Owen's been digging through your family, decades deep," Nate said. Lucas looked at Elena. "He's trying to poison this. I'm not letting him." She squeezed his hand. "Neither am I," she said. Across town, Owen sat in a high-rise overlooking the lake, watching an old local news clip of a younger Lucas beaming about integrity and vision. "You built that with my blueprint," Owen scoffed. "My grind, then tossed me out like garbage." He sipped cheap whiskey from a chipped glass and opened his laptop. On screen sat a drafted anonymous email to a major news outlet with partial records attached, redacted invoices, the photo he'd sent Elena. His cursor hovered over send. He paused. Not yet. He wanted Lucas to squirm longer. He saved the draft, then picked up his phone. "Time to chat with the board," he muttered. That evening, Lucas met with Claudia in his office. She carried a folder labeled Preemptive Strategy. "We should go on offense," she said. "Choose our battlefield, not his. Sit down with a trusted reporter," she continued. "Lay out everything. Owen, the threats, the old business fallout. You clear the air before he muddies it." Lucas nodded slowly. "Has to be someone people trust, someone regular families believe." Claudia smiled. "I already called in a favor. Susan Hall, Channel 7. Tough, fair, respected." "Book it," Lucas said. "Tell her nothing's off limits." Across the hotel, Lila built a block castle on the suite's rug, while Elena brushed her curls, eyes flicking to the door. "Mom, are we staying here forever?" Lila asked suddenly. Elena blinked. "What makes you ask that?" "I heard a lady say this isn't a real home. It's just a hotel." Elena wrapped her daughter in a hug. "Home isn't a building," she said softly. "It's who you're with. And right now, we're with people who love us." Lila nestled against her, content. But Elena's heart raced. The pressure wasn't just on Lucas anymore, it was pressing in on all of them, from every side. Later that night, Lucas sat alone on the rooftop, city lights flickering like distant fires. His phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "You can't fix what you broke, Luke, but you can still lose more, much more." He stared at the screen, then deleted it, refusing to give Owen satisfaction. Behind him, Elena stepped onto the rooftop, coat pulled tight against the wind. She sat beside him without a word at first, then said softly, "You're not alone." He nodded, eyes on the skyline. I don't want to lose her, either of you." Elena reached into her pocket and pulled out the small tarnished necklace, the one he'd found in that Denver suite years ago. "You said you kept this," she said, "but it was never yours to hold by yourself." Lucas took it carefully, fingers closing around the pendant. "Then we hold it together now," Elena whispered. Thunder rolled over the lake, distant but real. For the first time in days, the storm inside him eased, just a little. Enough to breathe, enough to decide he'd fight, not hide. The interview day arrived wrapped in drizzle. Outside, the Sterling Crown Channel 7 vans lined the curb, flanked by security and curious guests snapping photos on their phones. Inside, staff had turned the conservatory lounge into a temporary studio. Plants softened the space, glass walls letting in gray light. Lucas sat in a simple wooden chair, no desk. Susan Hall entered with her crew, poised and purposeful. She shook his hand firmly. "No PR script?" she asked. Lucas gave a small smile. "Just a very stubborn conscience." She nodded. "Good, let's start." Cameras rolled, lights warmed. Susan's producer counted down on fingers and she launched her intro, voice smooth, framing Lucas's story for millions. "Today, we speak with Lucas Hart, hotel magnate, philanthropist, and newly acknowledged father," she began. "His recent admission about a 6-year-old daughter has captured public attention and sparked fierce debate. But behind the headlines is a story about legacy, consequence, and second chances." Lucas stayed steady, breathing slow. "Mr. Hart," she said, "why come forward now, when silence could have protected your brand?" "Because silence would mean denying my daughter," Lucas replied, "and I refuse to do that again." Susan nodded. "Some say you only spoke up after a leak forced your hand." "That part's true," Lucas said. "Someone tried using my past to hurt me. But Lila isn't leverage. She's my kid. She's not a scandal. She's a gift I never expected. Critics claim Elena used her job to manipulate a powerful man. Susan pressed. Lucas's jaw tightened. Elena showed me more kindness in one night than many executives have in years, he said. She never asked for money or attention. She raised Lila alone, with nothing but grit and love. She's the bravest person I know. Susan's expression softened. You've received threats, had investigators digging into your past, she said. Are those tied to a former associate, Owen Madsen? Lucas hesitated, then nodded once. Yes, Owen was my early partner. I reported him for financial misconduct years ago. He blames me for his downfall, and now he's trying to weaponize my family to punish me. And your response to that? Susan asked. Lucas looked straight into the camera. I won't be blackmailed. I won't be bullied. And I won't let my daughter grow up scared. This ends now. Susan leaned forward. Is this your reckoning? Lucas's voice dropped. It's my becoming, he said softly. When the cameras cut, Susan shook his hand again. You meant every word, she said. People feel that. I hope it's enough, Lucas replied. In the suite, Elena watched live. Lila snuggled beside her wearing a fancy sweater. When Lucas said, she's not a scandal, she's a gift, Elena's breath hitched. Lila looked up. Mom, that's me, she said. Yes, baby, Elena whispered. He meant you. The interview went viral in hours. Talk shows replayed clips with surprise admiration. Social feeds skewed empathetic. Authors, actors, single parents shared it, praising his honesty and responsibility. But not everyone cheered. Owen watched from a private downtown club, a drink swirling in his hand. Lucas's face filled the TV screen, his words cutting through static. Nice speech, said the man sitting beside him. Too neat. Owen smirked. It's always the heartfelt speeches right before the biggest fall. He slid a flash drive across the table. Send this anonymously to the board, he said. They'll know what it means. What's on it? The man asked. Owen's eyes gleamed. Proof of who really laid the foundations and the price. That night, Lucas and Elena sat on their balcony. Lila slept nearby on the couch, crayon drawings scattered around her. Elena handed Lucas a glass of wine. You handled today, she said. He took a sip. It didn't feel like PR, it felt like confession. She leaned into him. And people listened. He wrapped an arm around her. I keep thinking about what's next, he admitted. Not just for the company, but for us. For her. Elena nodded. She needs stability, so do we, and Owen's not done yet. Lucas's phone buzzed with an email. He read the subject line aloud. Urgent. Board emergency session. Leadership review. He exhaled slowly. Owen just made his move, he said. They're coming for your chair, Elena whispered. Lucas nodded. Tomorrow. They stood there quietly, city glittering below, until she took his hand. Then tomorrow we fight, for truth, and for her. Morning rose cold and sharp as Lucas walked down the marble corridor toward the boardroom. His suit felt like armor. Each step echoed his resolve through the quiet hall. Nate followed with a leather folder stuffed with statements, timelines, and receipts. The paper trail of truth. Inside, 12 board seats were taken by gray suits and old money. At the head sat Chairman Walters, a stone-faced man in his 70s. Mr. Hart, he began, we're here to discuss leadership stability, fiduciary duty, and reputational risk. Your disclosures, however heartfelt, have raised serious questions about the company's future. Lucas sat, shoulders squared. I understand, he said simply. Beside Walters, veteran member Ellen Draper leaned forward like a hawk. This isn't about morality, she snapped. It's about perception. We don't just build hotels, we sell trust. Lucas met her gaze steadily. Then let's actually talk about trust. Nate handed each board member a folder. Inside are records of misconduct by former partner Owen Madsen, embezzlement, hidden deals, attempted sabotage of internal audits, Lucas said. I exposed him. That's why he's attacking. Walters flipped through pages, lingering on a red-flagged invoice. This was buried, he observed. Yes, Lucas replied. Back then, I thought shielding the brand meant staying quiet. That was wrong. I've changed. Another member, Rhea Howard, asked, And the child? You confirm Lila is yours? Lucas didn't hesitate. Yes, she is, Ellen cut in. Her mother worked here. That's ethically messy. Elena Morales helped me when I was at my worst, Lucas said. She never asked for anything. She raised our daughter alone. If you call that messy, you're seeing headlines, not humans. Silence settled. Walters closed his folder. Our duty is legacy, he said. Your personal life is now inseparable from our brand. Lucas nodded. Exactly why I need to lead from this chair. Legacy isn't just profit, it's courage, responsibility, owning your story. I'm owning mine. Can every one of you say the same? No one answered. Walters sighed. We'll deliberate in private, he said. You'll have our decision by noon. Lucas rose. Thank you. In a quiet lounge nearby, Elena sat with Lila, who colored while cartoons murmured low. She stood when Lucas walked in. How'd it go? She asked. They listened, he said. It's all I could ask. She nodded. Whatever they decide, we stand, he finished. At 11:58, his phone rang. Walters spoke. The board has voted. 7 support your continued leadership. 5 oppose. Relief spread through Lucas like warmth. Thank you, he said. Don't thank us, Walters replied. Just lead. Relief didn't last long. That afternoon, another leak hit. A clipped audio of Lucas arguing with Owen years earlier. In it, his voice said, I'll bury this if that's what it takes to protect what we built. No one needs to know. Without context, it sounded damning. Social feeds exploded. What else is he hiding? Headlines asked. Empire of Secrets? Lucas paced his office. It's Owen, he said. Has to be. Most likely, Nate agreed. Timing's brutal. Claudia burst in with her phone. Press is swarming, she said. We need a response now. Elena slipped inside, pale. It's trending everywhere, she said. They're calling the board vote rigged. Lucas opened his bottom drawer and pulled out a small digital recorder. That tape's from the day I learned Owen bribed city officials, he said. I've got the whole conversation. I told him I'd bury it from the press long enough to report it properly to the board without sparking panic. Nate blinked. You still have the full recording? Lucas nodded. Uncut, context and all. Claudia grabbed it. Then we go again. Another spin? No, Lucas said. No more edited specials. A live town hall. No cuts, just the truth. That night, the grand ballroom became a live stream stage. Employees, guests, and media filled the room. Lucas stood under the lights. No podium shielding him, just a mic in hand. He played the full recording, every word audible. His anger, his plan to quietly report Owen, his insistence on protecting workers while minimizing chaos. The context changed everything. When the audio ended, he faced the crowd. I'm not proud of every decision, he said, but I never stopped trying to do right by the people who trusted me. That includes every one of you, and especially the 2 people who changed me most, Elena and Lila. From the crowd, Elena watched, tears in her eyes. Beside her, Lila clapped wildly. She had no idea what was at stake, only that her dad was on stage being brave. The applause that followed was thunderous and real, not obligatory. In a shadowy corner, Owen watched on a tablet stream. For the first time, it dawned on him. Lucas wasn't just playing defense anymore. He was building something new. In the open. The morning after the town hall, the hotel lobby felt different. Staff greeted Lucas with steady nods and quiet encouragement. Guests stopped to offer quick, sincere words of support. In his office, Elena watched Lila chase a housekeeping cart down the hallway, wearing a tiny badge clipped to her shirt. She smiled, but unease still sat behind her ribs. Owen hadn't disappeared. Quiet enemies were still the most dangerous. Lucas joined her at the window with 2 coffees. "Almost too calm," he said. She nodded. "He's not done." A knock sounded. Nate entered with a slim folder and his phone. "We've got something," he said. Cyber team traced the leaked audio's path. It ran through a Nevada server. "Belongs to a shell company, Nova Shade Group," Nate added. Lucas frowned. "Never heard of them." Nate nodded grimly. "They were a bidder on the Rosewood property. We beat them last minute." "So Owen's not alone," Elena said. "No," Nate replied. "Nova Shade appears to be funding him, and they've got a move planned for tonight." Lucas's shoulders tensed. "What kind of move?" Nate slid the folder over. Inside was a leaked memo. Nova Shade would unveil a flashy luxury resort plan in Las Vegas, the same ground as Lucas's upcoming Horizon project. They were calling it New Horizons, stealing the name and narrative of Lucas's community-focused development. "They're hijacking your vision," Nate said. Elena folded her arms. "Then you confront them face to face." "I will," Lucas said, "but not as CEO of Hart Hospitality." Nate frowned. "Then who?" "As a man whose legacy is being stolen," Lucas answered. "I'm done watching from behind glass." That evening, Lucas stood in the neon blaze of Las Vegas. The Nova Shade event pulsed with music, chrome, and LED panels. A massive banner screamed, "Welcome to New Horizons." Wearing dark slacks and a simple black shirt, he moved past cameras with such focused calm that security hesitated to stop him. Inside, the stage glowed. At center stood Owen, basking in applause. "Voices silenced by monopolies," Owen declared. "Tonight, we offer a future unchained from lies and legacy debt." Laughter, cheers. Then the room quieted. Lucas walked straight onto the stage, flanked by 2 Hart investors who'd flown in. "This so-called future," he said into a spare mic, "is built on theft." The crowd gasped. Owen stiffened. "You weren't invited, Lucas." "I don't need an invitation to defend my work," Lucas replied. "Nova Shade doesn't own this project. They're using stolen blueprints, surveys, and outreach materials." A Hart attorney stepped forward with cease-and-desist letters. "If you back this," Lucas told the room, "you're backing fraud." Owen stepped closer, eyes blazing. "You abandoned your people." He spat. "You built glass palaces while the rest of us sank." "I built what I believed in," Lucas said. "Then I listened, changed, and started again with heart, not ego. You never did." A hush fell. Investors shifted, some quietly slipping out. Owen's jaw clenched. "This isn't over." Lucas moved closer. "It didn't have to be war," he said. "You chose it. But I won't let you drag Lila into it. That little girl is the best thing in my life. Her name will never be your weapon." Owen stayed silent, which somehow said everything. In Chicago, Elena watched the live stream, hand over her mouth as Lucas stood tall under harsh stage lights. "He's not just protecting himself," she whispered. "He's protecting us." By midnight, Nova Shade's board announced they were reviewing their relationship with Owen. Attorneys prepared for a long fight, but Lucas had won this round. He returned to Chicago exhausted but unbroken. When he stepped into the Sterling Crown lobby, staff broke into spontaneous applause. Elena and Lila waited near the central fountain. Lila sprinted into his arms. "Did you beat the bad guys, Daddy?" she asked. He hugged her tight. "No, sweetheart, I reminded them who we really are." Elena smiled as he rose to meet her eyes. "You did more than that," she said. "You changed the story." Lucas looked around at the faces watching him with belief. For once, he felt something unfamiliar. Not dread, not pressure, peace. The kind that comes when you stop sprinting from your past and start walking toward who you choose to be. 2 days after Vegas, autumn light turned Chicago streets gold and cold. The Sterling Crown's lobby eased back into its usual rhythm. Check-ins, luggage wheels, quiet greetings. From his office, Lucas reviewed Horizon contracts, scrutinizing every clause. Owen's schemes had taught him progress wasn't permanent. It had to be guarded, inspected, reinforced constantly. Elena entered with a padded envelope. "Came through the service entrance," she said. "No return address." Lucas opened it. Inside was a faded newspaper clipping from 19 years earlier. The headline read, "Construction Site Fire Kills 2, Cause Unclear." Below, a grainy photo showed 20-something Lucas behind police tape, half his face swallowed by shadows. His hands trembled slightly. "There's a note," Elena said. He unfolded it. Jagged handwriting. "How long before they learn what really happened? How long can you bury fire under concrete?" Lucas sank into his chair. He hadn't thought about that night in years. Long before his first hotel, before Hart hospitality meant anything. Elena sat opposite him. "What is this?" "When I was 26, Lucas said, I supervised a renovation on the south side. One night, after hours, a fire broke out. 2 workers died. Officially, it was electrical. But there were rumors, missing safety logs, rushed permits," he continued. Elena's eyes narrowed. "Were you involved?" Lucas swallowed. "Not directly, but earlier that night I argued with the site manager. I pushed to keep pouring concrete despite warnings. I stormed off. Hours later, the fire started. Investigators never asked, and I never volunteered. I convinced myself it wouldn't matter. But it does," Elena said quietly, "and someone's trying to use it now." Lucas nodded. "Owen knows. He's digging deeper. This is his next play." Across town, Owen sat in a cramped cafe under yet another alias. On his phone, a scan of the article glowed. He slid it toward a freelance investigative reporter. "It's all there," Owen said. "He let 2 men die and buried the truth under luxury." The reporter frowned. "Records look scrubbed." "Follow whispers," Owen said. "Someone will talk." "Why now?" the reporter asked. Owen smiled tightly. "Because gods fall hardest when they think they've finally redeemed themselves." That evening, Nate brought Lucas his own copy of the envelope. 3 outlets already called asking about the fire, Nate said. Lucas stood slowly. "We denying?" "No," Nate answered. "Not this one." Lucas nodded. "Then we go first." He turned to Elena. "I need to visit those families before they see my name in some exposé." Elena touched his arm. "You're not that kid anymore," she said. "Maybe," Lucas replied, "but my silence still ripples." The next morning, he and Nate drove to a modest suburb where one victim's widow still lived. Mrs. Callahan, now in her 70s, opened the door. "I remember you," she said. "You wore the hard hat, always barking orders." Lucas bowed his head. "I came to say I'm sorry," he said. "And to tell you the truth, I should have shared years ago." She let them in, poured tea with steady hands. "We knew it wasn't just wiring," she said. "But no one wanted scandal. They wanted hush money and quiet grief." Lucas's throat tightened. "If you speak publicly, I'll back you. I'll confirm your story, help however you need." She studied him. "We lost more than checks can fix. We lost the truth. Maybe your little girl won't have to." Leaving the house, Lucas's face was pale, but resolute. "She's right," he told Nate. "Lila deserves a father who doesn't hide." Nate nodded. "Then we tell it ourselves." Back at the hotel, Elena watched Lila spin through fallen leaves in the courtyard, pretending to control the wind. Lucas joined her, shoulders still heavy. "She'll hear things," he said. "Things I never meant her to know." Elena looked at him. "Then make sure she hears them from you," she answered. That night, Lucas sat on Lila's bed. "Can I tell you a story from when I was younger?" he asked. "Before there were hotels?" Lila nodded, curious. He spoke in simple words about fear and mistakes. He told her that even grown-ups sometimes have to learn how to be brave and tell the truth late. Elena watched from the doorway, eyes shining. The next day, headlines shifted. Not around a leak, but a confession. Lucas published a personal letter titled, "What I Should Have Said 19 Years Ago," on the Hart Hospitality site. It read like a human being, not a press release. He detailed the fire, his arguments, his silence, and his failures. He named the workers and apologized publicly. He pledged a scholarship in their names and ordered an independent review of every early project under his leadership. The internet erupted, some furious, many unexpectedly moved. Comments flooded in, stories of regrets, long-buried mistakes, relief at seeing someone powerful own wrongdoing without being dragged into it. Elena sat in the lounge scrolling, tears pooling. Lila played at her feet with plastic animals, unaware her father's honesty was reshaping how people remembered him. Lucas walked in, looking tired but strangely peaceful. "The world didn't end," he said, dropping into a chair. "No," Elena replied softly. "You just proved it can start over." Lucas frowned slightly. "Owen's gone quiet. That worries me." "He's losing his grip," Elena said. "Men like him panic when they lose control." Across town, Owen sat surrounded by empty bottles, staring at Lucas's letter on his laptop. "You turned the knife and still got applause," he snarled. His phone buzzed with an unknown number. He answered. A calm, masked voice said, "You're compromised. We're moving on without you." "What do you mean?" Owen snapped. "I'm your insider." "Your name's toxic," the voice replied. "We're cleaning house." The line went dead. Owen hurled his phone against the wall. At Hart Hospitality, Nate got notice of a surprise state compliance audit on horizon. "They're trying to stall us," Lucas said. "If we can't break ground, funding shakes." Claudia stepped in, jaw tight. "Key investors meet tonight," she said. "They're nervous." Lucas nodded. "Set it up." She hesitated. "They want Elena there too?" Elena's eyes widened. "Me?" she asked. "You're part of this," Claudia said. "They want to see who raised the child at the center of their investment story." Lucas squeezed Elena's hand. "You don't have to," he said. Elena shook her head. "I want to." That night, they met 12 investors in a penthouse suite overlooking the city. Lucas presented numbers and legal protections. Then Elena stood. "I'm not a businesswoman," she began. "I'm a housekeeper, a mother. I raised my daughter behind service elevators. Now I'm here because truth rose to the surface," she continued. "Not to destroy anyone, but to ask you this. What does legacy really mean to you?" "Lila isn't a scandal or risk," Elena said, voice trembling. "She's proof this company chose honesty, even when it hurt. That's the future you're investing in, ours and hers. It is never too late to show up. If you are in your 60s or 70s, you may have a lifetime of photographs, some framed on the mantel, some fading in old shoeboxes. Looking at Lucas and that little girl racing through the marble lobby, many of us see more than fiction. We see the ache of the moments we missed. Lucas lost 6 years of first steps, first words, birthday candles. Yet, when that child looked up and called him Daddy, life handed him a late invitation. He could have walked away, hidden behind lawyers, or bought silence with money. Instead, he chose pancakes, coloring books, and hard conversations. The lesson for us is simple and sharp. Even when we can't change the years behind us, we can still choose to show up today. A phone call, a handwritten note, a quiet "I'm sorry" over coffee at the kitchen table. These small acts can mean more to a child or grandchild than any inheritance. Truth hurts, but secrets kill trust. Older Americans know the weight of secrets. Many of you remember families who hid drinking problems, war scars, or broken marriages behind drawn curtains and polite smiles. Lucas had built an empire on control and a polished image. Then came the Denver night, the hidden fire from his 20s, the quiet compromises that never quite sat right in his soul. When the threats and leaks started, he faced a choice: deny, spin, and protect the brand, or admit his failures in front of cameras, shareholders, and, most of all, his daughter. He chose confession. That choice did not erase the harm, but it stopped the slow poison of secrecy. For those of us who have carried regrets for decades, his story reminds us that telling the truth may cost us comfort, but it restores something deeper: the possibility of real trust with the people who matter most. Legacy is written in people, not buildings. By 65, many of us have learned that you cannot take your bank account, your job title, or your corner office with you. Lucas owned shining hotels, rooftop gardens, and big projects with fancy names like Horizon. Yet the most important foundation he ever laid was around a small family table with Elena and their daughter. He fought boardrooms, old partners, and the court of public opinion, not just to keep his company, but to protect a little girl in a lavender jacket who thought he hung the moon. That is legacy. Not the name on a skyscraper, but the memory a child carries when she says, "My dad told the truth, and he stayed." As older adults, we still have time to pour into the people around us, to listen to a grown child's hurt, to show up for a grandchild's school play, to bless the next generation with stories of both our failures and our courage. In the end, it won't be the glass and steel they remember. It will be the love and integrity we chose when it mattered. Taken together, Lucas's journey reminds those of us with gray hair and well-earned wrinkles that our story is not over until our last breath. We can still answer the unexpected knock of family, still turn and face the hard truth instead of the easy lie, still trade a life of image for a life of substance. Our grandchildren do not need perfect heroes. They need elders who are honest, humble, and willing to begin again. Friends, as you listen to Lucas, Elena, and that brave little girl, I'd love to hear from you. Is there a relationship in your own life that still deserves a second chance, or a truth you've been afraid to speak out loud? If you were in Lucas's shoes at 65 or 70, what would you do differently, and what would you keep the same? Share your stories in the comments, tap the like button, and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss more heart-deep lessons and real-life reflections like this one.